What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Money Matters podcast. I'm Luke, and I'm joined by my co-host Matt.
Yo,
And today we have a ton of stuff to talk about. We have to talk about the second round of the NBA playoffs. We have a lot of coach firings to talk about. General manager was fired. We're going to talk about the All NBA teams. Yeah, we just have a lot of stuff to go over. So if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. We produce 4 to 5 videos a week, so go hit subscribe so you don't miss a video. If you're on one of our various podcast apps like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, those are our most popular. Go leave a good rating. That'll help us out so much. So with that being said, let's get into it. So the first playoff series I want to talk about is the Bucks Nets series. The Nets took games 1 and 2 handedly. I thought it was going to be Nets in 4, Nets in 5, but also in part to injuries, the Bucks came back, took 2 games, and then we saw Kevin Durant have what I would say is maybe his best performance ever. He put up it's like 49 points, 15 rebounds. How many assists? He had a triple double, right?
yeah, 10 assists.
10 assists.
49, 49, 16 or 15 and 10, I think.
Yeah, so Kevin Durant had one of the most impressive playoff performances I've ever seen. And yeah, the Nets took game 5, thanks in part to Mike Budenholzer's lack of coaching adjustments. We'll get into that more. So what are your initial thoughts on this Bucks Nets series so far?
I mean, obviously the injuries to James Harden and Kyrie made like a huge difference in this series. James tried to come out and play in game 5, but he really was like a shell of himself. He's out there just kind of walking around. But I mean, they have the best player. The Nets have the best player in the series still, regardless of their other 2 best players went down. KD is still proving that he's the best player on the floor, and those role players are stepping up, man. If you would have bet on Jeff Green making his first 7 threes in a row before the game, then I would have told you you're crazy. But if you're gonna get that type of performance out of Jeff Green, and Blake Griffin's gonna give you good help side defense, gonna hit 3 threes, and also Joe Harris didn't really have a great game, but Bruce Brown is gonna give you his defense and whatnot. So everyone played their role this game, and Kevin Durant really showed why he's widely considered the best player on the planet right now.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you. So in a video that you made, you called Kawhi Leonard the best player in the NBA. Does Kevin Durant's performance over the course of this series change your opinion at all on that?
If he wins this series without Kyrie and James, then maybe. But I feel like my reasoning was that he was like, Kawhi has so much more responsibility with his team, which is why even if KD puts up these big numbers, like I feel like it's harder for Kawhi to score consistently, and then Kawhi is also playing defense on the other end. So that's really my whole reason why I think Kawhi is better. But if KD, takes on that responsibility, that arguably even more than what Kawhi has to do, and shows he could do it, even though it's only for 2 games, I feel like I'll probably have to, bump him up a slot. It's not like opinions can't change.
Yeah.
The best player in the world could change, every 2 or 3 weeks for me. So that's just how it's feeling.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think by the end of this year's playoff run, we should have a good idea who's that number 1 for now. I talked a lot about in our last podcast because I believe it was before the start of the playoffs, the start of the second round of the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last podcast.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so at the time, I was praising Mike Budenholzer. I thought he did a really good job coaching in that Heat series. He did a really good job of attacking mismatches, and he pretty much outcoached one of the best coaches in the NBA, in Eric Spoelstra. This series has been a different story. The lack of adjustments has been horrible. Like I remember in Game 5, I don't know why Milwaukee was continuing to rely on these soft switches. That's how Kevin Durant scored most of his points in that second half. He would just attack Pat Connaughton. The Bucks really showed nothing. Kevin Durant, Landry Shamet would just Landry Shamet would set a screen, and Kevin Durant would be able to get that quick one-on-one matchup with Pat Connaughton, who's obviously a minus defender. And just other things like on offense, the lack of versatility, just predictability, the mismanagement of Giannis. I've constantly said on the podcast, on Twitter, that I need to see Giannis at center. It just gets me mad to see how Mike Budenholzer has just mismanaged his team.
Definitely, like Giannis is something. I honestly think Giannis could be the best player in the league right now. Like he has all the tools to do so.
Mm-hmm.
He works hard. He has the work ethic to do so. But I feel like the thing that's holding him back is coaching.
Yeah.
Whether it's his shooting coach, his head coach, his assistant coaches, like I think we should realize after 2019 when they lost to the Raptors. This is the first year. Well, this is the first year they're really like expected to do something. You know, they have a run. They're up 2-0, but then the Raptors build that wall, and now Giannis starts to look suspect. So all right, that's 1 year. You know, Giannis's first year in contention. We're gonna give him a pass for that. Then they play the Heat the next year in the bubble. Same thing.
Build a wall.
And now we're looking at it again here. Giannis is having better games because the Nets aren't really a good defensive team. But when it gets to that, like those crunch time moments, I knew the Nets were going to win. There was no contest because you have Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday trying to go shot for shot with Kevin Durant. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose that battle no matter what. So I feel like if the Nets get a new coach in there who could – Giannis doesn't need a three-point shot. If Giannis can get a post hook, a floater, and a face-up game, then I honestly believe he'll be the best player in the league by a wide margin. That's all he needs. And if he – please, I don't understand the concept of – I understand Giannis is a great help defender, but there was one time in Game 5 when there's a back cut. I believe it was Jeff Green. Jeff Green tried to dunk on him, and Giannis blocked it. That was the only one time where Giannis's presence as a help defender was really, really noticeable. Yeah. You have, I don't even know the guy's name. I don't know if he's a rookie, but I know it's his first year on the Bucks, the light skinned guy. He's guarding. I don't think it's Jordan Noir. I forgot his name, but so basically a nobody is guarding Kevin Durant. When you have the defensive player of the year sitting right there in the corner guarding Jeff Green, and I want to blame Giannis for not like taking that challenge upon himself, but I feel like that's not who Giannis is. You know, he's humble, as he said. Kevin Durant's the best player in the series. I mean, if I was Giannis' teammate, I'd be pissed that he said that. Yeah, but, you know, that's just who he is. He's a nice guy. Like he's not going to go against what his coach said. But I mean, I feel like if you get a coach in there, I honestly don't know who's available right now, but let's get a new coach. Anyone, please. Like Budenholzer, they reached their ceiling. You know, I feel like they reached it years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the top coaching candidates right now, we have Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's a horrible coach. I can't believe he's still a top candidate. It is wild. He sucks. He's the reason. Have you seen clips of Giannis shooting his rookie year?
Yeah.
It's crazy how Jason Kidd told him not to work on his jump shot. It is insane. Chauncey Billups is an option. Becky Hammond's an option. Those are some names at the top of my head. I'm sure there's other great assistants out there that would put Giannis in a much better position.
Chauncey Billups would be a good fit.
I feel like Chauncey Billups would be a good fit too.
A former player that can really because I feel like another part of Giannis's game which probably struggles is mental, like especially at the free throw line. And like Chauncey Billups was literally one of the most clutch players in the NBA during his time. So I feel like if anyone could help Giannis with his late game struggles, it would be him. You know, you have that guy looking on the sideline who's been there before. So that would definitely be helpful to him.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what are your predictions for the rest of the series? Do you think the Nets close it out?
I honestly think it goes to 7. And because as great as KD is, I don't think he's gonna drop another 50-point triple-double. And Giannis honestly is, despite like every the fumble at the end of the game, all the stuff late game, Giannis has been great this series.
Yes.
And, like he's been consistently great. So I feel like it's just easier. It'll be easier for Giannis to get his numbers, and the Bucks will come out fighting. And I think they're gonna go down to 6. But I think in Game 7, with that, the pace slows down. You start having to make tougher shots. Then the Brooklyn Nets shot making the talent will show, and they'll get it done in 7.
Yeah, I mean, I just really want to see Budenholzer switch it up defensively. Maybe throw Giannis at KD for a couple of possessions. I mean, PJ Tucker's a solid defender, but I mean, he can only do so much. I want to see Giannis being thrown at KD for a couple of possessions. Throw out Middleton for a couple of possessions. Double ball screens, hard hedge. I want to see different stuff instead of these soft switches
And
that allows KD and the Nets to just take advantage of mismatches.
Brook Lopez should be getting 0 minutes per game this whole shit. Like when KD was having a good game before he started like really turning up, every point he scored where he really like when he started really getting going was on Brook Lopez because he keeps playing drop coverage. Like I don't understand why you have PJ Tucker. Besides Giannis, maybe Bam.
Yeah.
And a couple other players, like he's in your top 10 players that you like. If you have someone to guard KD, that's him.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. You play Giannis at center. You start PJ Tucker on KD. If you don't, let's say you don't want Giannis to guard him because whatever reason Bud has, you play Giannis on the center, and if they call for a screen, you switch it. Like KD was literally feasting on that pick and roll because you're playing consistent drop coverage against one of the best shooters of all time. Like I don't understand Mike Budenholzer's like logic.
Yeah.
And you have like the most versatile defensive tool ever, and you're just sitting him in the corner. It's really like mind blowing to me. So I mean, if they play like they should be playing, then it shouldn't. They won't be a contest because they have more talent than the Nets, despite Kevin Durant being who he is. Like right now, without Kyrie and with how James Harden is hobbled, the Bucks are a better team than the Nets.
The Bucks should, talent wise, the Bucks should win this series, but coaching wise, Budenholzer getting out coached by first time head coach. I mean, that's just the way it is right now. I mean, I remember that in game 1 of the Heat series, it was mind boggling to watch. The Heat would run the ball screens with Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, and you can argue Duncan Robinson is top 3 shooter in the league. Brook Lopez still dropping. It's crazy the lack of adjustments the Bucks make. It's crazy. Let's move on to our next series. I can't wait to talk about this. The Hawks 76ers series. Wow. Last night we saw the Hawks come back from a 26-point deficit. Ben Simmons over the last 2 games has not attempted a field goal in the fourth quarter, second half. I'm not sure. Fourth quarter. He's not attempted a single field goal in the fourth quarter. I have a lot to say about Ben Simmons. We'll get into that. But yeah, I really like what the Hawks have been doing. I think they're 1 year ahead of schedule. I really think next season they could contend for a championship. I think they're that good and that deep, especially when they get DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish back next year. And yeah, I just really like what I've seen from this series. Doc Rivers has continued to show that in the playoffs, he's somewhat of a choker of a coach. The Hawks had an 18-point lead in game 4. I'm sorry, the 76ers had a 18-point lead in game 4 and a 26-point lead in game 5, and they blew both of those leads. So, Matt, what do you think is the problem with the Sixers right now?
I mean, it's Ben Simmons. It's Ben Simmons and it's Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
People are coming out and trying to blame Joel Embiid, which I could understand to a point where, like Joel, honestly, he didn't score for the last 6 minutes of the game. But you have to understand, like Joel Embiid, excuse me, he's a center. Like he needs a guard to get him the ball, And when your guard cannot dribble up the court because he can't hit a free throw and he's shooting 4 for 14, and it's going to be hard for Joel Embiid to get into his offense. Like Joel Embiid is.
Let's put this on pause. Okay, we're back. We had a little difficulty with the phone. Anyways, Matt, you're saying about Joel Embiid.
Yeah, he just needs a guard to get him the ball because at the end of the day, Joel Embiid is a center and he can't dribble down the court and post and get into post position like with the ball. Like he needs a good guard who's a threat to get on the ball. And like the Sixers point guard, the Sixers don't have a player that's on the team that's capable of like consistently getting the ball. Because in the fourth quarter, Ben Simmons he can't bring the ball up because he's getting fouled. He can't make a free throw. So when you blame Joel Embiid, obviously there's some that has to go his way, but it's when you have 37 points and like 13 rebounds, and you should not be getting the majority of the blame, especially when Ben Simmons had 4 points and he had 14 free throw attempts. Like I don't understand how he does it so consistently, but I'm not like gonna be one of those people say, "Oh, he doesn't work on his jump shot," which obviously I know he's working.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think he needs someone. He needs someone like a coach because obviously Doc hasn't helped him. He needs a coach that's gonna like get through to him mentally because it's not his shot is not terrible.
It's not.
Like I'm sure if you walk into practice right now and ask Ben Simmons to hit 9 out of 10 free throws, I'm sure he can do it for you.
Yeah.
It's just when you get onto the court, like it's a different animal. Like when you're thinking about it, it's different. So him and Tobias Harris have 4 points too, I believe. But
yeah,
I mean, the Sixers are just a mess. I honestly think if I'm Elton Brand, I'm trading Ben Simmons. I promise.
Me too.
Whatever it takes. If I have to package, my next 4, my next 3 first round picks, and Tobias Harris and Shake Milton or Tyrese Maxey, whoever the Blazers want, give me Damian Lillard. I'm done. I'm done with this experiment. Like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid is not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Unless they somehow come back to win the series, even if they win the series, it's not a reliable way to play basketball when you have a dominant center and your point guard can't shoot the basketball. Like it's just you can't win basketball. You can't win a championship that way.
Yeah, I mean it's with Ben Simmons. I mean, like you're saying about his jump shot. I think mechanically, it's fine. I mean, there's no real major hitch in his shot. I mean, it's pretty smooth. So I mean, form wise, it's okay. I mean, I think it's just a psychological thing. Whether you need to see a sports psychologist, I don't know, but you can't have one of your main ball handlers shooting 30% from the free throw line from the series. It's something like 30, right?
Yep, somewhere around like that's and then I think I heard a stat. He's the first guard in NBA history to miss 10 free throws in a game.
It's crazy. Like, yeah, I think the Sixers really need to retool their team this offseason. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to get out of both Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons' contract. I think Tobias Harris could stay. I mean, obviously, consistency-wise, he may not be able to give you what you need every night. But I still think this.
I don't want him on my team.
You know, I mean, he's stuck there. I mean, it's gonna be a hard contract to move.
No one's. Yeah, it is. I mean, maybe I don't know who's overpaid right now. Maybe the Warriors will take him for Andrew Wiggins, but I don't want him.
Is that an upgrade though?
I don't care. I don't want him on my team anymore. Just get him off. I don't care who I get. As long as he's a serviceable small forward, I don't want Tobias Harris on my basketball team anymore.
Something that a lot of people don't talk about that I think is funny as a Heat fan is that the Heat were getting so much shit for supposedly wanting to keep Tyler Hero and James Harden trade, which was a lie in itself because the Heat never had the draft capital to make that trade happen. But nobody wants to talk about how the Sixers didn't want to give up Ben Simmons in a Harden trade, which looking back on it.
The only reason they didn't do it is because it was their first year of a new head coach.
Mm.
You know, at the time, I'm sure like halfway through the season, weren't they first in the East?
They were, but I mean, personally, I always had a feeling this would happen in the playoffs, especially with Ben Simmons.
I mean, we could look back and say that now, but it's like really hard to trade your second best player when you're like the best. You're the best, second best team in the league, record wise, and you're the
Yeah.
best team in your conference. It's gonna be hard to make that trade. But I mean, looking back now, I mean, obviously you're saying that they should have done it, but it will be hard to make that trade when you're in their position. But
I get what you're saying in retrospect, but I also wanted to discuss how Doc Rivers is choking in the playoffs yet again. He I've never It's crazy how much credit he still gets as an NBA coach for that 08 championship run. Especially with that, okay, I'm sidetracking right here. That has to be the most annoying championship team ever. Nobody
yeah,
likes that team. The way the 08 Celtics talk, you would think that they three-peated.
honestly,
It's
bro.
crazy. It's crazy, especially with what's his fat Glenn Davis. You heard what he said
Oh
the other
yeah,
day
wait.
about
Him and
Kyrie?
Kyrie, yeah. The same ankle he stepped on Lucky with. Shut up, bro.
So fucking dumb. Anyways, yeah, so sorry for the sidetrack. Yeah, well, Doc Rivers, he didn't get it done in Orlando when he had T Mac and Grant Hill. Even though Grant Hill was hurt during his time, they never made a playoff run. In Boston, after KG, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce moved on, and Rajon Rondo, after they moved on, he flamed it out. With the Clippers, they never got past the second round. Well, yeah, they never got past the second round when they had CP3, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. I feel like I'm missing a piece from those mid 2010 teams.
Jamal Crawford, JJ
Jamal
Redick.
Crawford, JJ Redick. Didn't get past the second round last year with Kawhi and Paul George. And it's starting to look like he's not going to get past the second round this time as the number one overall seed.
Yeah,
So that really puts things into perspective with how Doc Rivers is as a coach. Let's move on to the Hawks a little bit because we haven't talked about them yet. Trey Young has just been so dominant. Um, I might have touched back on the Sixers with this one. He had 39 last night with Ben Simmons guarding him. Do you think Ben Simmons is overrated as a defender?
absolutely not. No.
Explain.
Especially, especially after what I saw from. I mean, Ben Simmons is like I'd say my top three defenders in the league would be. I still go one Giannis, no matter what, because you saw what he did to Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
I mean, when
No,
Bud
I agree with that.
and two I go Ben. I have to just because of his versatility. Like I'm just ignoring what his abysmal offense. Like his defense is honestly crazy. But and of course he has the help of Matisse Thybulle too.
Mhm.
So I mean I just think like Ben I mean done a good job on Trey. I mean for a lot of the game Matisse was guarding Trey.
Yeah.
I, but I mean what was it game 4? No, game 3. No, it was game 4 because Trey Young didn't have a good scoring game, but he had 18 assists. I mean Ben was playing good defense on him. So I mean, I still think Ben is in my number 2 slot, and then especially after what happened last night, I really have zero respect for Rudy Gobert at all.
Oh
That's
yeah. We're gonna talk about that so much. We're gonna talk about that so much.
I
Holy shit. Yeah. No, getting to Ben Simmons. This might be a cool. I think Joel Embiid's the best defender on the Sixers, in my opinion. I think so. My top three defenders would probably be Bam in no order: Bam, Giannis, and OG.
oh gee,
Yes,
that's a new one.
he
You
might
think
be the most versatile defender in the NBA.
you think OG is a better defender than Matisse Thybulle?
Yes,
He didn't even
yes,
make OG didn't make an all defensive team.
because okay.
Matisse Thybulle made an all defensive team, and he
Listen,
not even
listen,
playing 30
listen.
minutes a
We're
game.
we're gonna talk about the All NBA, all defense teams because that's just
But Matisse
BS.
is like that.
I don't care about all defensive teams. Oh, he only he was. I think it's also his problem was like games as far as like you didn't play enough
Oh,
games.
was OG was hurt this year?
Yeah, because OG was hurt. But okay, that's just my opinion. But with Ben Simmons, he can just get taken out of plays so easily. In my opinion, he can't get over screens. It's the same problem that Giannis has, but I just saw. I mean, the Hawks love to run ball screens with Clint Capella, Nyaku Kongu, and Ben Simmons was just constantly taken out of plays. He's a bad trailer. I think he's a team defender. He's a little overrated. Uh, and I just think that when judging Ben Simmons' overall impact, that he gets slightly overrated, in my opinion.
Mhm.
We saw with the Hawks, Lou Will had an absolutely phenomenal second half. Uh, how many points did he score? I'll have to look that up right now. How many points did Lou Will score last night?
I know he had 11 in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how much he had.
he couldn't miss. He missed, I think, 2 shots in the second half. Let me see. Let's see how many points Lou Will scored in this last night. He finished the game with 15. It felt like a lot more. I'm not gonna lie. He finished the game with 15. That Hawks bench is so good. I mean, having
Yep.
Danilo Gallinari coming off your bench is a cheat code, pretty much. Solomon Hill was playing great defense last night. Just an incredible comeback. Nate McMillan, incredible coach. I mean, I have no idea why the Pacers ever got rid of him. And yeah, the Hawks are building something special. They're probably, in my opinion, going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. And yeah, so watch out for the Hawks in the next couple of years. Could even do something this year. We'll see. Let's move on to our next series of the day. You mentioned Rudy Gobert, so let's talk about the Clippers Jazz series. What are your thoughts on the Defensive Player of the Year's performance yesterday, especially on defense? Let's hear it.
He's a liability. When when I think actually Draymond really had a good point when he said Rudy's great in his role, but there's not a situation like he said. Draymond said about himself. There's not a situation when I'm on the floor. I mean, there's not a situation defensively that you don't want me on the floor,
Yeah.
which is can't be said for Rudy because obviously you see like if the other team goes small,
Mm-hmm.
the only positive you have with Rudy is offensive rebounding because he's gonna get cooked every single time. He had Reggie Jackson looking like Kyrie Irving. The only stop I can remember him getting. The best thing was the closeout.
Oh,
Closeout
the
on Nick
oh
Batum.
that half-ass closeout.
He didn't move. I don't think. I honestly like Rudy needs to get some plyometric work. Learn because I don't understand what that was. He like kind of put his hands up and
Yeah.
just didn't go anywhere. He was standing at the elbow, and Nick Batum is like a couple like behind the 3-point line. What did you think you're accomplishing there? So I mean, he got exposed. I mean, this is nothing new. We've seen Rudy Gobert get exposed at every playoffs damn near
Mm-hmm.
with his perimeter defense. It only takes so long till they start forcing the switches, and he just looks like a fool out there.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the Clippers just endlessly try to hunt the switch with Gobert, hunt the switch Gobert. We saw Paul George hunt the switch. We saw Reggie Jackson hunt the switch. By the way, quick sidetrack: Reggie Jackson has played amazing this series. He's really been hooping, and it just is. I mean, obviously, like I said, he's probably a top 5 rim protector of all time. You can't deny that. He's amazing as a paint defender. But on the perimeter, he could just get played off the court so easily. I think the Jazz really need to invest in a switchy, motory big who can just defend off switches in the playoffs when you can't put Gobert on the floor. I think the Jazz also need to find an upgrade for Royce O'Neal. I like O'Neal, but at the end of the day, I think they need something more from that four slot. And yeah, Paul George played amazing last night. He finished the game with 35, I believe. He said in an interview, I think post game, that Indiana Paul George is returning since Kawhi's out. So we'll see. I'm very excited to see. I'm glad that this whole playoff P narrative is getting destroyed because I thought it was
I,
unfair to
I don't
start
think
with.
so.
You know,
That's what I think. People are overreacting. Like I'm,
okay.
I'm rooting for Paul George. Like, don't get
Uh-huh.
me wrong. I want Paul George to be good.
Yeah.
But just because you had one good game does not erase 20 what? When was the first year? What was the year he lost to rookie Donovan Mitchell? Was that 2017?
That was like 3 years ago. That was like 3 years
Exactly.
ago.
And he's done it consistently since then. What was it? Rookie Donovan Mitchell. The next year, 2018.
No, I think it was. Wait, I think it was second year Donovan Mitchell.
No, it was rookie year. I specifically it was rookie Donovan Mitchell. He beat Russell Westbrook and Paul George in 5 games.
Next year was Dame time.
Next year is Dame time.
Paul George did not play that bad in that series though.
Okay, but okay.
Okay.
And you have the
the Nuggets series.
The Nuggets. No, 2019. What happened in 2019?
Yeah. No, it's 3 years.
No, 2019. Who did the Thunder lose to? No, then they didn't lose to the Blazers in 2018.
They lost to the Jazz in 2018. Right, Mitchell's rookie year was 17-18, then 18-19, 19.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So no, but
Paul George, like, this game was great for Paul George, but this is not like you're still pandemic P. Like, you didn't escape that because you had one good game. Don't get it fucked up.
He's been playing good all playoffs. He's been playing
good. He has. You're still pandemic P.
So what do you mean one good game when he's had multiple very solid games throughout the playoffs?
But that's what he's all right. He's not overperforming as much as he's underperformed. He hasn't balanced it out yet.
Okay. I think Chris Porzingis is kind of a lot of the pandemic P narrative. I think is starting to shift towards Porzingis, which is, as a Paul George fan, it's good. It's but whatever.
No one ever had as high expectations for Porzingis as they do Paul George.
Well, I mean, Porzingis' expectations were moderate, I would say.
Paul George was a top 3 MVP candidate and came out. Was that the same year that they lost? Came out and lost to a rookie,
Joe Ingles. Didn't Westbrook shoot like? I remember in that elimination game versus the Jazz. He had one of the most inefficient performances.
Paul George had like 9 points in the closeout game.
He did. I think Westbrook had like 21 off like 36 shots, something insane. But yeah, okay. If Paul George is able to close it out in Game 6 or Game 7 without Kawhi Leonard, would you be willing to shed the narrative of pandemic P or playoff P, whichever one?
I feel like for now, yeah, but I can really I can't forget what he did. Like, I'll never trust Paul George in the playoffs again. Like, if I'm betting my money on someone to drop like 25 points in a playoff game, like, Paul George is damn near like towards the bottom.
Okay, all right, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, we see the Clips take a 3-2 advantage. I'm very impressed with the coaching of Ty Lue. I did not like the hire at all, but I've been surprised. I think the Clippers, especially Ty Lue, have done a really good job of making Kawhi and Paul George the primary playmakers. We saw last year with Doc Rivers. He had Paul George a lot more off-ball roles than I was comfortable with. We see this year that George has been more of a playmaker, which is encouraging. And yeah, I mean, we've seen Reggie Jackson plays really well. Marcus Morris played amazing last night. You see the Clippers slowly shifting away from the Zubac lineups, which is promising. There was some stat news that I saw. I think it was in Game 2 that the Clippers are like 0-5 this playoffs when Zubac plays more than 18 minutes. So I'm glad the Clippers are moving away from these heavy Zubac lineups. And yeah, I'm very curious to see how the Jazz respond in Game 6. Donovan Mitchell had an off night. And I want to see if Quinn Snyder makes any adjustments, considering the Clippers are now just hunting Gobert every play.
I mean, they can't really take him off the court. That's some people. I don't agree, but according to some people, that's your best player. So, I mean, I'm not sure what you can do, because even if they take Gobert off the court, who they're going to put on? Like, they're putting Derek Favors. It's not going to do much better. So I feel like you just have to ride it out with him.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get over the screens as best as you can.
Yeah. Personally, I'd rather have Derek Favors in the perimeter than Rudy Gobert. It's not saying much. Let's move on to our last series of the day. This series ended very quickly. 4-game sweep by the Phoenix Suns over the Denver Nuggets. Not a whole lot to talk about with this series. Chris Paul was incredible, especially in a lot of those second halves. And we saw the Nuggets really miss Jamal Murray. They didn't get much from their guards except from, I believe, Monty Morris had a very good game 2 or game 3. And yeah, I mean, the Nuggets need Jamal Murray back. Scoring wise, they couldn't keep up with Devin Booker, Chris Paul. Nikola Jokic had a solid series, but it just wasn't enough.
I mean, it's really like up to injury. We saw Jokic really didn't have much help, and the Suns are the Suns are legit. I
They're
think
legit.
if I mean, just the fact, I think even if Murray and Barton were fully healthy, I don't think that makes up 4 games. Like Jamal Murray's great, but if you get swept without them, like you can't even. And it's not even like a close sweep.
Yeah.
Like they're getting consistently blown out.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I just feel like even if they're healthy, they would have lost. I mean, the Nuggets don't really have. They don't have any cap space.
No.
So I mean, all they really have. I mean, they can get healthy, but I don't know what's next for them. Like, Jokic just won MVP, but I feel like this team is kind of plateauing. They are maybe looking to trade in Bobo if you're not going to play him. You already traded RJ Hampton. They have four really solid starters. But I mean, I just feel they don't have that second star next to Jokic. They have guys they have all-stars next to him, but they don't have a star next to Jokic that's really going to push them over the next level. When you play 2 stars like a CP3 and a Devin Booker, or a LeBron and AD, or Kawhi and Paul George, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. Even if you have Jamal Murray or you have Michael Porter Jr., they're not on the level of those other guys.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what's next for them, but they have figured something out.
You wouldn't label Jamal Murray as a star?
No.
Not even like a borderline star type guy.
Yeah, he had a great playoff run, but I mean, we saw what happened in the Lakers series. Like the Lakers in 2020, it really. I mean, I guess that's different because at the time, I think AD was like a top 5 player.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it's hard to compare that. But it's when you compare it to other second stars, I don't think Jamal Murray is not in Paul George's realm. Jamal Murray is not in. And I don't know Chris Paul. Is Chris Paul the second best player? Paul.
Yeah.
Unless he's dropping 40 a game again, but I don't think he will. But I just don't think he's even close to other like the contenders, second stars. He's not there.
Let me ask you, Jamal Murray or Ben Simmons?
Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
It might be recency bias, but
I don't think so.
I mean, Ben Simmons, and they need to trade him, bro. I feel like if Ben Simmons with his own team would be much better.
If it was on the team?
With his own team.
Yeah.
Like they need to trade him to the Blazers. Blazers just need to hit restart. Trade CJ McCollum. And I really don't like CJ McCollum. Like, have you seen him on Twitter? He's like just riding Giannis, bro. He's literally had 5 tweets. Giannis doesn't care about you, bro. Like you tweet about a man 5 times. Like, why are you worried? You're at home, bro. Just shut up, sit down and enjoy and watch the game. Like you're out here hating on Giannis. Like you're the reason why your team is home. Matter of fact.
I saw something. Yeah, no, I know. I saw something on Twitter that says like CJ McCollum's yearly tradition is getting bounced in the first or second round, then going home and tweeting about the rest of the playoffs. Yeah. No, speaking on the Nuggets, I think they have to find a way to improve. I think in the shooting guard, small forward position. I liked the Aaron Gordon acquisition at the deadline, but when we saw in the playoffs, he shot over 8 from 3 throughout the 4-game sweep. You need you need a better and more consistent shooter there. They could package Gordon, who I just looked up before my phone died. He's due, I think, for $16 million left on his 1-year contract. So you can move that contract along with your best asset at this point, which is what, Bull?
All right. I mean, I don't know if you want to trade MPJ, but one of
No,
them, yeah.
no. I'm staying away from MPJ. You trade away Bobo, Aaron Gordon, the first round pick or two. You can pick up someone solid. But yeah, the Nuggets do need to make some acquisitions this offseason. Let's transition now because we're talking about the Suns Nuggets series into our talk about the injuries and just the unluckiness of Chris Paul. So he's going to be out for how long with COVID? It's like 7 to 9
Honestly, don't
days.
know. I know Ernie Johnson went over it yesterday. I think he has to have. I don't know if it's. I know he tested positive, so I don't know if it's supposed to be 2 weeks or if he just has to have like 2 negative tests and like some other stuff. I don't.
Yeah.
Just hope. I think everyone's hoping that Utah and LA goes to 7, so Chris Paul will just have as much time as possible.
Yeah.
I honestly don't want to see, the Jazz or the Clippers beat up on, the Chris Paul, the Suns.
Mhm. And Kawhi's injury, they haven't called it an ACL tear. They called it, it's an ACL injury. I think they called it a knee sprain for now, which is like a 2 to 4 week injury. So Kawhi's gonna be out for the near future. He could be out for longer. So I feel so bad for Chris Paul. He has to be one of the most unluckiest players in the NBA. He was the Rockets had that 3-2 lead over the Warriors in 2018, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
2018, Chris Paul got hurt. The Warriors won the next 2 games. And you're looking at the Suns, who I think have a very real shot of making the NBA Finals. And now Chris Paul's out for the near future for 7 to 10 days, however many it is. And it's even more unlucky considering he's fully vaccinated. So he literally had a 5% chance of catching it, and he still caught it. So
But
it's
I feel
crazy.
like, thinking about it, I feel like they'll be okay. Like, regardless if Chris Paul misses the first, I think worst case scenario, he misses the first 2 games,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 3. I think the Suns will be able to get one off. I mean, and if Kawhi's not playing,
Yeah.
I'm definitely taking the Suns over the Clippers.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
And
mean, mm-hmm.
especially if he's coming back. And then the Jazz, on still to this day, like the Jazz put no fear in my heart. I think if without Kawhi, if they lose to the Clippers without Kawhi, especially, but even if the Clippers had Kawhi, I feel like that game last night would have been close.
So it would not have been close.
Nah.
No, I don't think so.
Regardless of how Bogdanovich is great. What's his name? Joe Ingles is great.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need those guys. Like, regardless of, and Donovan Mitchell by himself is not going to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
So, regardless of, I think the Clippers will go through. And if they don't have, Kawhi is out for the rest of the series, definitely. And, if Kawhi and Chris Paul come back, they both might not be 100%.
Yeah.
Both, might come back around the same time. So if I have to put my money on like a team, I'm putting it on the Suns because I still don't trust the Clippers' mental toughness as much, especially as Chris Paul, who's dealt with this how many times now. The Suns team is really like built for what's the word I'm looking for?
They're
For
built
the
for the
struggle.
finals or for the struggle.
Like they could like win these tough games, these hard fought games. So I feel like they'll be all right.
Yeah. And with the Jazz, we saw it with the first half and second half. They rely so much on that 3-point shot. They hit 17 3-pointers in the first half, which is insane. Like, that's crazy. And then they hit, I want to say, like, how many threes they hit in the second half? It was less than 5, that's for
I
sure.
know they went 0 for 10 in the third quarter.
I know that. And yeah, so I really can't trust the Jazz enough to predict them to move on to the finals. So I mean, I agree with you. If you're looking at one team right now out of the 3 remaining teams to move on to the finals, despite all the injury and COVID concerns, I still will take the Suns. And then moving on to the East with injuries, we see the Nets battling with injuries with Kyrie Irving, James Harden. Hopefully, by the time the Sixer series, or excuse me, the Hawks series, because I think the Hawks will beat the Sixers, by the time that series rolls around, hopefully James Harden will be, it's 80, 90%. Because I mean, I think the Nets will move on against the Bucks regardless. How bad is that Kyrie ankle sprain? Did they say what grade it was?
I mean, like his ankle was like touching the floor. So
yeah,
I mean, ankle injuries are really like kind of different for everyone.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, he might be back. He might not. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a high ankle sprain, that's what we saw with LeBron. Then it could
No, it
lead.
wasn't. It was regular.
It was a regular ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
then hope.
LeBron's was like inward instead of outward. It's just
Yeah.
work.
Mm-hmm. So when you see the regular ankle sprains, maybe like a 1 to 2 week injury. We'll see.
But yeah.
But I mean, I think, although I mean, as much as I do love the Hawks, I think the Nets, even with just Harden at 80, 90%, and KD, I still think the Nets would advance in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I think I just think it's important to get Kyrie healthy by the time the finals rolls around.
Yep.
So let's move on now into the All NBA talk. The All NBA teams were released on Wednesday, or no, excuse me, not what, Tuesday, right? Monday or Tuesday.
I think so. I think Tuesday.
Yeah, so the All NBA teams were released. I disagree with some of it. I have the 3 teams pulled up. We're not going to talk about defensive teams that much. We're just going to focus on the 3 main All NBA teams. So in the first team, we have Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. Personally, there's nothing here that I really disagree with. What do you think, Matt?
I just wish like positions didn't matter as much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I don't see why Joel Embiid is not All NBA first team. Which I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter because at the end of your career, they're gonna say you're like 13 times All NBA. It's not gonna say first team, second team, third team. But I'm just saying, he definitely deserved first team over Kawhi.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But I think they should just get rid of the positions. There's no point of having it.
Yeah.
They don't have it. They don't have it for the rookie team. So
yeah.
Why not?
And I mean, I think some of that recency bias with Kawhi is like selling in a little bit. But I mean, if you just look on regular season alone, you have to put Embiid there. I mean, Kawhi was great throughout the regular season. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Embiid finished.
Didn't play much.
Yeah, exactly. There's that, and Embiid finished second MVP in the MVP voting.
Yep.
So moving on to the second team, we have Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, LeBron, Julius Randle, and then Embiid. Here, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I predicted Julius Randle to make the third team, but I understand the second team selection. Nothing else here that I really disagree with. Chris Paul and Damian Lillard both deserve it 100%. LeBron deserves it, and then you have to put Embiid there. So do you like?
Randall just looks so out of place after his playoff series.
Oh yeah, it just. I mean, you're comparing him to just these.
Like if you showed me this at the end of the
players.
regular season, it would have been fine. But looking at it now, it just looks funny.
In retrospect, it's just horrible. But I mean, does that make sense to you? Randall's second team.
I mean, yeah. Who are you really gonna put over him? I wouldn't put who are the forwards on the third team? Paul George, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about who should have made third team over them, but I think Julius Randle. He had a great season. Led them to the 4th seed. I think he deserves a spot there.
I mean, a part of my Heat bias wants to put Jimmy above Julius Randle for that second team spot. But I mean, I completely understand why Randle's there. He played tremendously. He was a top 10 MVP candidate by the end of the season, so I understand it. Third team, there were some snubs. Going into the team, it was Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal at the guard spots, then at the forward Paul George was selected, Jimmy Butler was selected, and at center is Rudy Gobert. Personally, I mean, center, you have to give it to Gobert. Defensive player of the year, whatever, easy selection. And at the guards, I'm fine with Irving and Beal, but it seems like most of the backlash is with the forward position with George and Butler. I was surprised Jason Tatum didn't make the All NBA third team over Paul George. Um, yeah, a lot of it has to do with the positions. Because I heard somewhere that that a lot of Tatum's votes came at the guard position, which I mean it needs to be positionless. So, what are your thoughts on the All NBA third team, and who do you think was snubbed?
I don't know why anyone is talking about this, but I don't understand why Bradley Beal is here. Like Bradley Beal had a great statistic year, but I know he didn't even make the All-Star team. When was that? He was averaging like 30 points, and he didn't even make the All-Star team. And
Yeah.
he had a worse year this year. But I mean, we always want to change the narrative because I don't even like Devin Booker that much, to be honest. But if Devin Booker, time after time, Devin Booker's not an All-Star because he doesn't win. He's not All NBA because he doesn't win. And then now Devin Booker is are they the first seed or the second seed? They're the second seed.
Second seed.
He's the second seed, and you put a guy who was in the play-in on the All NBA team over him. So now you want to flip it because when Devin Booker was in Bradley Beal's situation, he would have got that selection.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about that. And then I think whether you want to replace him with Jimmy or Paul George, I think Jason Tatum should definitely be in there. Like he took a big leap this season.
He did. I mean, yeah. I mean, I understand why Beal is there. I mean, he averaged 30, 31 a game, right? And the Wizards did play really well in the second half of the season, considering how lackluster the roster is. I mean, besides Westbrook and Beal, it's probably the worst roster in the NBA. So I understand the Beal selection. That's why I said I was fine with it. But I mean, as far as more deserving, I think you definitely have to give it to either Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I think they both played huge roles on the first and second season in the West. And yeah, they're snubs as well. If you look at other potential snubs, you can make a case for who else? Is there anybody else that you're not too?
Trae Young, maybe. Unless you want to say Kyrie didn't play enough games.
I mean, you could argue Trae Young there with the third team ahead of Bradley Beal. But yeah, that's our thoughts right now. And then we heard yesterday, we've heard a lot of stuff with young players wanting out. We saw today with Zion Williamson, there was a report. I saw a tweet by NBA Central that his family, Zion Williamson's family and him are really not super happy in New Orleans. They don't like the roster construction of the team right now. I don't blame them at all. The roster is built terribly. And then we saw with Luka, which I made a video on. What's happening in Dallas right now is really weird. It is weird. We saw general manager Donnie Nelson was fired, who supposedly Luka and Nelson were very close. Wow. And there was that report by The Athletic that I believe his name is Bob Voulgaris, this like sports gambler-esque figure, has like such a huge voice in the Mavericks front office coaching staff. I don't even know what's happening in Dallas. It was a whole bombshell that's just wow, you know.
Yeah, I mean, with the Zion situation, I feel like his family is just they're not making the situation any better. Like if Zion is frustrated, I can understand why. This is going to be his third coach in 3 years. So, but he hasn't even played a full season worth of basketball yet. So, like
85 games. I say he's played 85 games. So
yes,
barely anything though.
Yeah. So then he's obviously a generational talent. But when you play 85 games in 2 seasons, it's hard for you to have this type of pull. And it's not like Zion, this is coming out of Zion's mouth. It's coming from his family. So I mean, Zion could be great in New Orleans. You know, he could be happy, and then his family's just talking,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know. So, but whenever a player's family comes out, you know, obviously people are gonna think that that's what the player is thinking themselves. So,
Yeah. I mean, like the way NBA Central tweeted it or phrased it, should I say, they said that the New Orleans Pelicans have been unable to put together the right elements to make Zion Williamson his family happy. Whether that's with coaching or roster construction, I don't blame them. I disliked the Stan Van Gundy hire from the start. And David Griffin did such a horrible job building a team around Zion. Like the acquisition of, I mean, I know that they traded away Drew Holiday, but Eric Bledsoe is a negative in that team. He can't shoot. And then you have Steven Adams clogging up the paint, which was like, why? You know, and he's still due for $35 million over the next 2 years. That's going to be a hard contract to move. And you really need to build just a team full of shooters around Zion. Um,
they're
Zion
gonna lose
had,
Lonzo Ball for nothing, likely.
you said what?
They're likely gonna lose Lonzo Ball for nothing.
Yeah, which I mean, if the goal right now is to keep Zion happy, then letting go of Lonzo, which is probably his favorite
One of the
teammate.
best fits. Yeah,
Yeah, a great fit next to Zion is just incredibly stupid. I think the Pelicans should also look into moving on from Brandon Ingram. I like Ingram a lot. I think he's a very solid player, but I mean, he does take away from those looks that could be given to Zion. And while I do think the Pelicans need a second shot creator, I don't think Ingram necessarily fits next to Zion that well.
I agree. Yeah. I think I honestly don't know who they could get, but I feel like if they could get like a less ball dominant scorer alongside Zion, it would be better.
How about a Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum swap?
I don't want CJ McCollum on that team. He doesn't. I mean, it would be cool, but he don't fit. He doesn't fit the timeline, and I just don't like CJ McCollum.
Yeah, I can tell you don't like CJ McCollum. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon.
That would be
I
good.
mean, that would be good. Yeah, I
But
mean,
then where do you go? I mean, I think they should just focus on making the playoffs first. You know, if they can't. I don't think they can trade beyond that now. Like it just wouldn't be smart to do that,
mhm.
especially when you don't know what you're getting back. But if they make the playoffs, and you know, it looks we don't know how Zion's going to play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll need a BI because I mean Zion still can't close out a game if we're being honest.
And I
It's
mean,
when
yeah, I'll continue.
if it's he kind of has that Giannis syndrome where if it's like the fourth quarter, 10 seconds left, it's gonna be hard to give him the ball.
Mm. Like, I mean, one potential deal that they could make is if somehow the Pacers look to trade away both Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner, they could package the two of them in a deal for Brandon Ingram, maybe a first round pick, Jackson Hayes. I mean, I think Miles Turner would be a tremendous fit next to Zion, considering he's a stretch big. And then Malcolm Brogdon is obviously very solid playmakers, can score the basketball. So that's one deal that they could make. I'm really looking forward to Zion's improvements next year. I think he could, I mean, as a playmaker, I'm very excited to see what type of leaps he could make in that area of his game. So yeah, we'll see with Luka. I'm sorry, with Zion. As for Luka, this whole situation with Dallas is weird right now. I mean, the Mavericks obviously have to move on from Kristaps Porzingis. They have to retool that whole roster and try to build or try to acquire a second star next to Luka. There were reports, whether how true they were or not, that Rick Carlisle would be interested in taking the Bucks job if it becomes available, which it likely will. So that's very interesting. I'm not sure what's happening in Dallas right now. There were also reports that there's been no talks of an extension between Luka and the Mavericks, which again, I'm not sure how true that is, but yeah, I mean, if Luka were to not sign that supermax extension and be a restricted free agent, right? I think after next
Yeah,
season, yeah, it would just be crazy. So I think that's gonna be it for today, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. Go comment down below just any thoughts you have on the video. If you agree or disagree with us, let us know in the comments below, and we'll talk about it with you guys. If you're on one of our various podcast apps, like I said, leave a good rating. Download it, share it, tell your friends, tell your family, tell whoever might like some Miami Matters South Beach sports content. And yeah, with that being said, we'll catch you later. Peace.